Good morning, everyone. This is Curtis Hawks over here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services, and I want to thank everybody for taking some time with us to kick off the week, to be on the call. We've got some good information, very good topic to talk about today. Um, Before getting into that, I did want to spend a few minutes here at the beginning to talk about some of the additional ways IMS is here to add value to your business. So first off is our new producer builders, and you can see a variety of things up there. But as a new agent to IMS, we want to make sure that we're, meeting you where you're at and helping you to get to where you want to be. And one of the ways that we do that is partnering with you financially. And so you can see a variety of point totals there. Whether you need help on marketing or prospecting or want additional reimbursement or trips or just straight cash, we've got a number of options there. And so what I would tell you is if you've got questions on that, reach out, talk to one of the sales directors over here. Phone number is 800-255-5055, and they can talk to you a little bit more in greater detail about what's available to help you get into production. In addition to that, we've got our IMS business builders. And so if you're currently working with us and know of an agent who maybe isn't quite happy with their current relationship or you think might be a fit for us, send them our way. Not only will you get a $50 bonus when they get contracted, but then on an ongoing basis, you'll receive basis points on their production. You don't have to take care of any of the service. We'll take care of all of that for you, but it's a great way to generate additional revenue. We also have our standard marketing reimbursement program. As you can see there, you get $100 for every 100,000 of qualifying index annuity premium and $200 for every 100,000 of SPL, as well as $200 for every 10,000 of target life. So it's a great way for us to partner with you and help double the size of your marketing budget. And again, if you've got questions on that, reach out, talk to one of the sales directors over here. In addition to that, our back office support, I think there's really been a spotlight that's been put on that. Um, Back office support isn't exactly an exciting thing to talk about, but I think with what's going on and has been going on with the carriers and slowdowns and those types of things, I think it's really put a spotlight on having a good team of people at your IMO to support you, whether it's getting cases pushed through quicker or helping on case design. And so the team does a great job over here. And if you haven't used us yet, I would encourage you to do so because I can promise you that you'll certainly notice a difference. Technology is a big theme with us. We do integrate with Firelight. Um, you can see up there we've got the carriers that we work with. We also integrate with iPipeline as well for e-applications. We know that that has grown significantly in the marketplace. And one of the nice things is you can do that right off of our website. You just have to be registered on there. Creative marketing solutions. So I think creative really is the key word. We have done, I've certainly noticed over the last couple of years, a greater variety of projects that advisors have requested with our creative department. I think there's a ton of opportunity in the marketplace right now, and we've got a very strong, seasoned team of individuals that can do pretty much anything, whether it's web design, marketing collateral, uh, social media campaigns, digital campaigns, you name it. And I think one of the benefits to working with them, if you've ever hired third-party ad firms, is that when you're using those third-party firms, they oftentimes maybe work with multiple industries. And with our team, they just specifically focus in the financial services space. And why that's important is some of the best practices that you might see out there when it comes to running campaigns, while those might work on a traditional type of a business, a retail business, that doesn't necessarily translate over to the financial services space because when you think about it, we deal in intangibles, right? We deal in the promise of a guaranteed income for life. We deal in the promise that if something happens to you, we're there with a check. We deal in the promise of no downside risk in the market, but upside potential. And so you really want to deal with a team of people that are used to articulating that narrative. And so I would encourage you, if you've got questions about how to get access to our creative design department, reach out, talk to a sales director, and they can chat with you about that. In addition to that, we've got our IMS website. Um, we have added over the years a variety of resources on there, and whether it's doing e-applications, as I mentioned, running quotes, we've got illustration software on there. You can download paper forms if you want to. We've got our annuity sales uh, pieces and marketing packages on there, as well as life insurance. And we've got our sales resource library on there, which literally has hundreds of point of sale consumer facing pieces that you can instantly download off of it. And I mean, it runs the gamut on content, whether you want something that's basic on how annuities work or life insurance works to 401ks to premium finance or split dollar or executive benefit planning. Got all of that and everything in between. And you just have to actually be contracted with us in order to get access to it and create a login to the site. So if you've got questions on that, reach out and talk to a sales director over here. IMS Wealth Management, we've seen significant growth. We certainly see that there is a growing shift in the marketplace to more comprehensive planning. Even if the primary focus of what you're going to do is on the annuity and life insurance side, we've certainly seen a trend of more and more advisors incorporating AUM into their practice. And so that's why we developed IMS Wealth Management. The team over there does a great job, provides a very, very high service level to make sure that it's as easy as possible to integrate that into your practice. And so if you've got questions on that, reach out, talk to Duncan and the team over there, and they can talk to you about how they can help you get started. We also have our life and annuity academies up. In fact, we've got one coming up here in a little over a month, about 6 weeks from now, September 14th through the 16th. There is still time to get registered for that. We've got about a week left. And so I would encourage you, if you've got interest in that, reach out, talk to a sales director. You can go on our website and get registered. But these are great events. When you're out in the field, you spend your time working in the business, dealing with prospects, clients, carriers, IMO, all that kind of stuff. These are really an opportunity for 2.5 days to spend time working on your business, learning what's going on in the industry. What are the most cutting edge marketing and prospecting systems that are out there? What are the top sales concepts and strategies that advisors are using? What are some of the top producers in the industry doing with their businesses creating success? So it's really a great event. We found every time we do these, which is a big part of why we do them, but we found that it leads to significant growth for the advisors that attend. So if you're looking at the fall here and even further down the road into next year of what you want it to look like and you're wanting to grow, these are a can't miss event. So again, reach out, talk to a sales director, and they can work with you on getting you registered. We also have our upcoming incentive trip, which is Park City, Utah. That's in partnership with Athene. You can see there's 3 million of Athene production to qualify for it, but it's really going to be a great event. If you like the outdoors, if you like nature, the resort's amazing, the area is amazing, and there's still time to qualify. So if you've got questions, reach out, talk to one of the sales directors. They can get you some more information on that. Lastly, like and follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Every single day, we've got posts going out on a variety of topics, whether it's marketing and prospecting, carrier updates, you name it. And so it's a great way to get a constant feed of new information. So with that, I'm going to get this switched over here real quick. So we've got Brent DeGroot on the call with us today with OneAmerica. And we've got actually, I think, some really exciting stuff going on. So first off, September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. November is LTC Awareness Month. So you've got some big awareness campaigns coming up here in the not too distant future. You've got a lot of volatility in the marketplace. Some of you might have seen that the Inflation Reduction Act just passed, but long-term care is one of the, when you talk about expenses in retirement, taxes and healthcare are two of the biggest expenses. And OneAmerica provides a very, very competitive portfolio of products. And then I think we've got a lot of things going on in the marketplace that causes people to really take a look at what are tax efficient products that are available, what are products that allow me to earn interest without being concerned about market volatility. So in any case, with that, Brent, I'm going to hand it over to you. I appreciate you taking some time to be with us today.
Well, thank you, Curtis. And I think I did just check. I think the screen is up. Everybody should be able to see the presentation here, but I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak to all the advisors, producers, and insurance professionals here that are on our presentation today. So thank you very much. And again, Curtis, thank you for IAMS for having me. So I really wanted to focus on, yes, long-term care. OneAmerica, that's what we do here at OneAmerica is focus on long-term care. All of our solutions are based around long-term care planning. And just to echo some of Curtis's comments, it is a need many times that does go unaddressed. And it's not just kind of your fly-by-night risk that's there for a portfolio. It's really something that needs to be addressed. And largely, I say that, when we're working with our clients, they are planners. They're coming to us for a reason. And largely, they want to plan for this risk. And so it's our responsibilities to really bring up these risks, make sure that they understand what they are, and then do some planning around them to mitigate those risks. And today's environment, we're in a very challenging market. And so I really wanted to hit on a couple of ideas when long-term care planning in a challenging market. But first, I just wanted to give you some insight and information a little bit on who OneAmerica is. We are a leader in this asset-based long-term care planning space. When I say asset-based, we're really using their asset. So either a life insurance policy or an annuity, and that in there creates the long-term care income that is needed for a long-term care expenses. But again, we are a leader in this space. We've been our first actually iteration of asset care, which was our life-based chassis, was released back in 1988, so the year I graduated from high school. So I think I'll never forget that year, obviously. But so we've been doing this a long time. What does that mean? Basically, it says, look, we've been, developing products, filing them with the states, administering those pieces, working with those clients, but most importantly, paying claims for nearly 35 years now in this market space. So really wanted to let you know we're not a fly-by-night company. We've been doing this for a long period of time, and really are a leader in this asset-based marketplace. To speak to the financial strength, I mean, we can trace our roots for our insurance company. OneAmerica is really an overall umbrella, if you will, for a number of insurance companies within that umbrella. So that's a marketing entity. But we can trace our roots back to 1877 in the insurance space, if you will. We are AM Best A+ rated, and our current Comdex is 95. So all that speaks to the financial strength. And when you are working with your clientele for planning for long-term care, obviously a financially strong and stable company is one that you would need to be looking for, because you're not asking that company to be there to pay claims tomorrow. Look, we would be there for that if that happened as well. But largely when you're planning for long-term care, your clients may need that income stream, 10, 20, maybe even 30 years down the road. So it's very vital that you represent a very financially strong company. And I will mention that we are a mutual company. Why I mention that, we are owned by those same policyholders that purchase those plans from us. So anything that you're representing to your clientele, they would become, certainly they're your client, they're a customer of ours, but that's really who we report to. We are not a stock company that has to report their earnings on that quarterly basis. Why that's important, we're always thinking in terms of your clients, our customers, and making sure that we can administer these policies, pay claims, making sure that we are priced adequately in the marketplace and so forth. So always thinking in terms of those customers, your clients, and I think that speaks volumes. Now, to move into a little bit of the more of the presentation today, I liken planning for retirement, kind of like climbing a mountain. And this is going to be a rhetorical question, but if I ask this a lot when I'm doing these live too, so if we said, let's go on a mountain climb today, what would be the goal to that mountain climb? And typically the answer I get the first and the most is to reach the top. And that is, a great goal. And quite honestly, many times that's why people go on those mountain climbs. But as a retirement journey, I liken this to reaching retirement age at the top. The reason I kind of look at this as somewhat like that retirement planning strategy is you've got really two phases of a mountain climb and two phases of a retirement plan. You've got your accumulation phase where you're building that wealth with your clients. Obviously, they reach the top and that's the pinnacle. They can plant their flag there and say, look, I am now retiring. This is great news. I can look at the view out, see everything in the landscape, realize the efforts that I have put forth to reach the top. But there's also that distribution phase, right? While they're in those retirement years. And now we need to make that money that we have saved, help our clients save, last for the rest of their lifetime. So I look at there's some big concerns for both retirees and pre-retirees. You can see them there listed on the slide, but the biggest one that doesn't go realized or noticed or planned for is the bottom one, those long-term care costs. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on today. There's some trends that can affect that descent in those distribution years, higher demand, the more people that are looking to receive care, obviously that's going to be a higher demand. I'll look at the baby boomers. We are over halfway through the baby boomers turning age 65. And as a matter of fact, in just 4 short years, the first boomers start turning 80. And while we age, the fact remains that we may need some form of long-term care services in our lifetime. So the higher demand, the more people needing care. I also worry about the amount of caregivers that are going to be out there. Simple supply and demand says higher need, less providers. That could drive the costs of long-term care over and above even what we're planning for today. Number 2, longer lifespans. The life expectancy has been increasing, thus the life tables as we've seen, the changes back in 17. I will also say this, medical advancements are keeping us alive longer as well. So what is the quality of life? But that can certainly affect any of the pricing of any long-term care planning or the expenditures that they may need as well by living a longer life. Family dynamics, who's providing that care? I will say this, kind of a power phrase in long-term care planning. Many times you may find that your clients will say, look, my family's going to take care of me. Or, I raised my children, now they can take care of me when I'm older. And I will say this, by putting a good long-term care plan in place, that will allow them to be the care managers, not the caregivers. And I'm going to add more to that in just a few slides here, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. And for the government, so many people mistakenly believe that the government is going to take care of them, whether it's their Medicare policy, which does have some very limited services that can pay for long-term care, but it's only, essentially 100 days. And you've got the hospital stays that you have to incur before you can even reach some of that. Plus, you're going to be in some sort of facility. There is Medicaid, but again, our clients that we're working with are planners. They're not one to go and plan to spend down their assets so that the government can take care of them. Why? They lose all of their choice. They're going to go directly to a Medicaid facility, and they won't have the opportunity to receive care at home. They're going to be bound to whatever facility has room for them. So they lose a lot of their choice and independence that way. So the other thing that I'll mention with the government is things change. Yes, we have plans in place today, but the government is constantly changing. So what's in place today may not be in place tomorrow. And that's why it's imperative that we look at long-term care risks and mitigating those risks, and then understanding how that could affect the cost going forward. Now, who needs care? There's some statistics that maybe you've heard of already. This is a fairly well-publicized statistic that came out from the government back in 2017, and it says if your clients are lucky enough to reach the age of 65, there is a 70% chance that they're going to need some form of long-term care services within their lifetime. Now, I'm going to take that a step further. That's a pretty big percentage in and of itself. So again, a large risk that we're talking about here. How many of your clients are married? Again, rhetorical question here. But if I go strictly by the divorce rates, I guess, if you will, at least 50% of them probably are married. So let's look at this same statistic now, and if they both happen to reach age 65, now we're talking that a 91% chance that there is going to be one of them that is going to need care at some point in their lifetimes. So again, this is not a small risk. This is something that is very large and looming for your customers, your clients, our customers, and that we need to be planning for. Now, beyond that, 20% of those will need care or receive care that will be for 5 years or longer. Let me stop here really quickly and talk about a couple things that OneAmerica offers that sets us apart in this industry. We offer a joint policy structure, meaning that we can put both spouses, or really we adhere to the laws of the state. If they recognize domestic partnership, if they recognize common law marriage, whatever the state recognizes, we can put both of those people, spouses, partners, on the same policy, a joint second to die contract, meaning that they both get to access that policy, one policy for those benefits needed for any long-term care expenditures. Beyond that, we also have what we call our lifetime benefit option through our continuation of benefits rider, and I'll get more into that here in just a minute. But having a joint policy and lifetime benefits puts the total peace of mind in your client's thought process when planning for these types of risks. So knowing that 20% are going to need care for 5 years or longer, it's pretty easy to fall subject to that average trap. Well, just tell me what the averages are. Whether that's our bias as advisors, whether that's the bias of the consumer asking that question. I just want to know what the averages are. Let's plan for that. The problem with that type of planning becomes that when they exhaust their policies, now they're right back to that same retirement portfolio that you've been working very hard to build with them, that is earmarked for retirement. It is not earmarked for any long-term care expenditures. So having that joint policy structure with a lifetime benefit structure gives your clients the total peace of mind. Now, beyond that, I really believe that the conversation starts with two really simple questions. And question number one, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you may never need care. Look, and let's face it, none of us think that we're going to need care, but the statistics prove that there's a very high likelihood that we are going to need some form of care. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you may never need care, but if you did, how would that affect your family? Our job as advice givers, insurance professionals, whatever label we want to put ourselves in, our job is to ask the questions and sit back and wait for the answers. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is not offer up some suggestions for them to think about. So ask this question very simply. You may never need care, But if you did, how would it affect your family? And then wait for the answers. Let them mull that over. Get them thinking about, what that might look like, because those are really going to be their buying signals or the reasons that they want to put a plan in place. And you can use that moving forward. But let's just talk about some of the objections that you may hear. Well, my spouse is going to take care of me. That may be the case, but we've got to also think about pushback on that to say, truthfully, here we have a 250 pound male and, maybe a 110 pound female, sopping wet. Is she physically going to be able to lift him out of bed, take him to the toilet to take care of a toileting need, bathe, dress him, do all of those things? That many times will get them thinking about, okay, yeah, that's maybe not the best way to do that. And as a matter of fact, if spouses do provide that care, many times what happens is they start to neglect their own health issues in and of themselves because they are caring for their spouse. So something to think about, things to push back on when they offer up that objection. Children. My children will take care of me. And I really want to hone on this one just for a second here as well. If they truly say this, we need to push back and say, look, we all, if you've had children and that's who you're going to rely on, we all want better for our children than we had ourselves. Largely, that's just human nature. That's what we want for our children. So we don't want them to put their lives on hold to now come and care for us. We need to make sure that when that objection arises, we need to push back on that. So, are they putting aside their own plans for retirement? Are they taking time off of work? Are they not saving for their retirement? Are they now in the sandwich generation caring for their own children and their ailing parents at the same time? Will that affect their marriages? All things to really think about if they're going to offer that as an objection. Family dynamics, to take that just a little bit further, it's very interesting. This great nation of ours, the family really the nuclear family has expanded. We're no longer in this, say, 2 to 5 mile radius of where our parents certainly grew up or where we grew up. And so now we're spread across all of this great land of ours. And so what happens many times is when a care need arises in a family, could be a very close-knit family, but we've got kids spread across this nation of ours. I've seen this over and over in my 20-year career within the long-term care industry, is that the child that is furthest away from the situation and isolated really in any of the caregiving duties has the most to say about the care that they want for their family member, whether it's, again, mother, father, whatever that case may be. And that can really tear families apart. Not sharing that burden of providing some care or helping with that care, managing that care because they're not as close to that situation as maybe another child is. And that can really rip very strong knit families apart, really put a lot of, hatred's maybe a strong word, but it can really cause some deep tensions in very close-knit families. Unnecessary losses, you can't plan for everything, but we want to take care of those as much as possible. So again, simple. Question 1, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you may never need care, but if you did, how would that affect your family? Follow that up with, once they've given you their answers, follow that up with question 2. And if you did need care, how would you pay for it? Now you're really going to get into the mindset of your clients as well, to tell them, or them to tell you exactly how they thought this was going to be paid for. Well, the government's going to take care of me, or I'm doing Medicaid planning so I can spend down my assets and lose all control. That's just not an option for our clients. We need to push back on that. Again, they are planners. They're working with us for a reason. Help them plan. Don't let them pass it off to the government. Long-term care insurance, another great way. I worked for a traditional long-term care insurance carrier for 17 years. I will never disparage the long-term care insurance industry, but the biggest objections that we ran into there is that, well, if I buy this policy, I may never use it. I may pay, premiums for years and years and never use it. So that use it or lose it objection became a very tough one to deal with on a day in and day out basis. The other thing that we had to run into in the traditional marketplace was the fact that rate increases came. And a couple things that I will talk about with our asset-based solutions here at OneAmerica. One, because we are using the client's asset that they put in place to mitigate this risk, it's their asset. If they never use it, it gets passed on to their heirs, and on our life insurance chassis, that is a tax-free death benefit. On our annuity chassis, it would be all that cash value that would be passed on to their clients, to their beneficiaries on a tax-free basis, except for any of the growth in that annuity chassis. So gone is the use it or lose it. So if they understand that concept that, hey, I've got something in place that I will use if I need care, but if I don't, it's still my asset. I still get to pass that on to my beneficiaries, whether that's my children, whether that's a charity, whatever beneficiary they would like, it gets passed on to their beneficiaries. The biggest objection probably that still resides out there when long-term care planning is the self-funding objection. I'm just not going to plan on this. I'll just self-fund if it ever happens. The problem with self-funding is that they're paying dollar for dollar out of pocket for these types of expenditures. And again, now they're invading that retirement portfolio that you've been working so hard with them on. And that's earmarked specifically for retirement, not for long-term care expenses. There's a better way to self-fund, and that's really using an asset-based solution because it's still their asset. And then they can, if they don't need it, they pass it on to their heirs. All right, that being said, I wanted to very quickly talk about a website that is consumer approved that any of you can use. Great way to kind of spur interest within your clients if you send out an email campaign or whatever the case may be. The website here is experiencecaresolutions.com. It's very interactive. Gives some great information around long-term care planning, some of the costs, very basic information, but it's very interactive. It gets clients kind of thinking about their whole retirement strategy and what they may do in retirement, how they'll spend their retirement, that sort of thing. Great little way to kind of open the door, do a follow-up campaign with them. Hey, did you take a look at that? Do you have any questions? What can we help you with? At the end of this particular website, they'll come to a call to action. Ready to take the next step? Well, contact the financial professional that sent you this website. But we can take that a step further for you here at OneAmerica by signing up for our OneAmerica marketing store. Very simple. We need some basic information from you: your name, address, phone number, email address, headshot, any agency information, that sort of thing. And we can customize this site for you so that when they come to the last step, it'll be your information, obviously not my information, but they'll know exactly who to contact. Great little website. I've set a lot of these up for IMS producers, and they're taking advantage of this day in and day out. So now I want to get more into the meat of, I was just kind of building the need, if you will, for long-term care planning. Now I want to get into kind of the solutions, and especially in this challenging environment that we're in. So first and foremost, I want to talk about a very simple concept. And if you understand this concept, you've got OneAmerica in and of itself in the full. There's some complexities that we can add to this, but our concept is very simple. First and foremost, your clients take out a base policy, and that is either a life insurance chassis, which we call asset care, or an annuity, which we call annuity care. And their base policy, their assets there within that policy are what they will use first for any long-term care claims that they incur. But we can also add what we call the continuation of benefits rider to these base policies, and that can extend for up to a lifetime of benefits for as long as they will ever need. You never have to worry about running out of those benefits. And if you understand this concept, base and rider, you've got OneAmerica down. And again, this is the type of planning that your clients are looking for when trying to mitigate this long-term care risk. Now, let me get into a couple of scenarios, two only, when planning in these very challenging times. You know, the market's very volatile. We took a pretty large step back recently, right? Obviously, interest rates are rising. So it's a very difficult time to maybe get clients off the sitting on the sideline. You know, many of them are just kind of sitting and waiting. Let's wait and see. I don't want to do anything with my money at this point. For those clients, I really wanted to talk about a return of premium structure that we've got within our asset care life-based chassis. So I wanted to focus on this return of premium. Look, they could be a very conservative client. They could just be wanting to sit on the sidelines for a while, whatever that case may be. Understand that this is a great way to plan for long-term care because this becomes fully liquid. It's still their money, still their asset, fully liquid. They could get out of this decision at any point. Let me quickly talk about what the available issue ages that are. You can see that it's 35 up to age 80. You don't see too many long-term care planning solutions that will go up to that age. And so we stand out in that aspect in the marketplace as well. We typically see this funded through, I'll call that mattress money, you know, CDs, money market funds, savings. You know, a lot of those don't have a whole lot of interest being built. Obviously, interest rates are on the rise. Maybe it's starting to pay a little bit more. But historically, at least for the last 15 years or so, interest rates have been so low that they're really not doing much, but maybe sitting in their mattress. Life insurance cash values, we can use those as well. Just do a 1035 exchange and use that in putting these types of return of premium solutions together. But let me look at this return of premium solution. And again, why I focus on this one now, because we're in this challenging market. And this solution is very liquid. So at any point, they could get their premiums out of the same solution. So they want a plan. You know, you get them off of that sitting on the sideline, focusing on the future, making sure that they've got this risk mitigated or planned for. But you also know, or that you relate to your clients, and they now know that at any point, if they wanted to surrender the policies, any premiums that they put in here are fully liquid. They get it back in every single cent. So it's a great way to design this. Now, the return of premium solution that we have here at OneAmerica has a couple of limitations. It must be a 2% acceleration of the death benefit, meaning we're going to take the face amount of that base policy and pay it out over 50 months. Unfortunately, there is no lifetime benefit rider, continuation of benefits rider on our return of premium example, but we can add an additional 50 months in that continuation of benefits. So that really gives 100 months of payout. So essentially 8.3 years that would pay out these types of benefits. So I think still a very good planning resource or option for your clients, especially in this volatile market that we're in. So let's look at this. I like to start with a benefit that will cover any home care needs. And I should have mentioned this up front. Not only do we pay for nursing home care that would be needed, we also pay for assisted living facility, and most importantly, home health care, because your clients want to stay at home. The stigma with long-term care always is, why do I want to plan for that? I don't want to go into a nursing home. They want to stay at home as long as possible. So when I build these examples here, I'm usually working with what the home care costs are today. So I'm building in a monthly benefit of $6,000 per person. So again, this is a joint example, hypothetical example, both male and female, age 60 here, using that 2% death benefit, and making sure that I had that $6,000 per person per month available to them should they need care. I had to work with a face amount of $300,000. Now, to put this full plan together, the 100 months for the the 50 months for the base policy and the 50 months for the continuation of benefits policy, we're going to see a single premium here of $188,910. But that will include both sides. And for this full 8.3 years, each one of your clients, or in this particular example, they would have that up to $6,000 a month on a reimbursed basis for any care expense needs. So when you add that COB premium, then we've got a total benefit pool of $600,000. So we're really leveraging that premium up fairly substantially. $188,000, we'll call it 189, but giving them $600,000 in benefits for long-term care expenses. So let's look at some of the quote output here as well, because I want to point out just a couple things. This is essentially page 3 on the left-hand side, page 4 on the right-hand side. Starting with page 3 on the left-hand side, I like how we break these down. Initial premiums, put that right up front for them. They know their face amount of $300,000. That face amount is going to be payable for the LTC, so they're using their asset first. But if they exhaust that asset, that's when the continuation of benefits kicks in and gives them another $300,000 for a total of $600,000 in a total payout. Keep going down the page here, you can see that it's $6,000 per individual up to that $6,000 monthly amount for them. On an annual basis, that would be $72,000 per person. If they both happen to be on claim at the same time, pretty rare, but it could happen, we'll pay up to $12,000 monthly or $144,000 annually out of this policy for any long-term care expenses. Other things that I like to point out, we break down the single pay of the life portion, the LTC portion, and the return of premium portion. So we can see all of that adds up to that $188,910. What we're also showing here is a 50-month base policy, 50-month COB. I didn't add any inflation to this. We certainly can add inflation to these plans, but in this particular example, I did not. Moving over here to the right-hand side, $189,000 is a base premium, one and done solution. And you can see the cash value starts right off the bat at that same $188,910, but eventually it will actually grow in cash value as well as they go along within this particular solution. Death benefit is going to be higher up front early on until it reduces down to that $300,000. But you'll see that the total benefit balance is the $600,000, and then they've got the per person up to $6,000 per month in long-term care benefits. Why this solution? Why return a premium? I look at it a couple ways. Here's what they're getting in the bank. If they had that $189,000 in the bank, wherever that was sitting, they cash out, they have $189,000, right? Okay, yes, there may be some slight interest that they gain, so maybe it's $200,000. I don't know. Again, for all intents and purposes, they have their $189,000. If they pass on and never need that money, they'll pass it on to their beneficiaries. They won't get the full 99 because likely it'll go through probate. So there'll be some taxes and so forth that will be implemented there. So they won't get that full 189 to pass on. If they live on it, that's all that they will have to live on, just the 189, and that's it. Well, let's look at what they would get by using that same 189 here at OneAmerica. If they cash out, they still get their 189, 100% liquid money, return of premium, at any time at surrender of this policy. So they can get their money back out of this policy at any point for it fully liquid. If they pass on, good news about that is now we've leveraged that in the terms of a death benefit. So they'll have $300 that will skip probate and go directly to the family as a tax-free death benefit, $300,000 to their heirs. If they live on it and they actually need that for any care services, not only, if they never needed it, would we pass on tax-free $300,000, but if they lived on it, now we've got a total pool of $600,000 for them to access for any long-term care expenditures. So I really think that this is a great solution, especially in these challenging times that we're in. The other one that I really wanted to hit on here was our recurring premiums. That was a single pay solution, but we also understand that not every client has the ability to just reposition a lump sum like that. So we've also created recurring premiums types of scenarios. And you can see we've got a number to choose from here. Pay to age 95, that's essentially our annual pay, if you will. We've got a 20 pay, a 10 pay, a 5 pay. So other ways of putting this plan in place. And once they reach that milestone, 5, 10, 20 years, or reach age 95, it's a fully paid up policy and no further premiums due. Again, the same issue ages, 35 to age 80. Typically, these are funded from, earned income, but it could be investment income, just taking some of the earnings for their portfolio and using that for this type of ongoing premium solution, even pension income. So let's look at the same male, female, age 60. This is an annual pay to age 95. Again, I was trying to keep that $6,000 per person per month. That required, because I changed the acceleration, I went to a 3% acceleration. So we're compressing that base policy to pay out now over 33 months. But I'm also adding that lifetime rider to that, meaning yes, they may use their policy asset quicker, but it doesn't really matter because they still continue that same $6,000 per person per month benefit for life. Neither one of them can outlive that. So by moving to this 3% acceleration, compressing that base policy to pay out over 33 months, to get the $6,000 per person per month, I have a face amount now of $200,000. So this ongoing premium for this great policy that includes the lifetime benefits that they can never outlive, we've got an annual premium of $95.18. So if I look at the output here again, again, we show the initial premium, show the face amount, show what's payable, and the continuation of benefits. You'll notice now we've got this arrow because it means, look, it's unlimited. It'll never run out. They can use those, or they have access to those benefits as long as either one of them needs it. Again, breaking out the life premium, the LTC premium, and I'm going to come back to that here in just a minute. 33 months base policy, lifetime COB. Again, I didn't add any inflation, but we can. Premiums are guaranteed never to increase. That's a big one here because we're using this life insurance chassis. And another big thing that I like to point out here is that any recurring premium situation, waiver of premium is built in on any of our recurring premium scenarios. So let's just flip over here, and I'm going to give you a little scenario. Flip over to the right side and look at the ledger pages. You can see here it's going to be paid up at age 95. So, you've got those ongoing premiums. However, let's say that one of those spouses happens to go on claim, say in year 12. So year 12, they go on claim, and what happens now, the waiver kicks in for any other premiums due. So no more ongoing premiums as long as that individual is on claim. So great little piece that I like to point out on our recurring premium scenarios. Now, cash value takes a little bit longer to get to the eventual full face amount of that policy because we're using recurring premiums. So it builds cash value over a longer period of time. Death benefit is always there from day one, $200,000. And again, that unlimited amount of $6,000 per person as a monthly LTC benefit as long as they would need. Now, there's other ways to do this as well. And we can do a single premium for the base policy and annual pay the rider. So just another little way of looking at this, still the $6,000, still the face amount of $200,000, but the single premium, because we're putting that more towards the base policy, $107,244. Now it creates a much lower recurring premium of an annual premium of $36.70. So let's look at that in terms of the quote output. Again, everything you've seen here is pretty straightforward. I will touch on this annual LTC premium in just a minute. So just remember this, $36.70 as an annual premium. Now let's go over to the ledger pages. You see the original premium would be the $104,000 for the life premium plus the LTC premium, so that totals the $107,244 as their initial premium. But then ongoing premiums of the $36.70. But again, waiver of premium is built in here. So again, if one of them goes on claim, it will waive those premiums due. It still takes longer to build that cash value, but the death benefit's there, and that's $6,000 per person available. Now, why did I say that I was going to come back to this annual LTC premium? One of the biggest things with long-term care planning that largely goes overlooked, I should say, is the tax deductibility of LTC premiums. So I wanted to quickly focus on this in the short period of time that we have left. Now, here's my disclaimer a little bit. Asset Care is not a traditional long-term care policy, so LTCi insurance. However, it does qualify for the LTC advantages established by the Pension Protection Act. And my even larger disclaimer here is that this content is provided for an overview and informational purposes only. It is not intended as tax, legal, fiduciary, or investment advice. Now, I've been doing this, working with long-term care for, like I said, 20 years of my career so far. I've got this stuff down, but I'm not a CPA, so I have to certainly mention that. So, premium deductibility. You know, it really depends on the type of taxpayer that we're talking about. So, individuals can have a deduction for their LTC premiums. So can employers or employees of those employers as well, if they're paying for that plan for the clients. It really depends on what type of taxpayer they are. I call it a good, better, best scenario. This came directly from our advanced markets area. They put it on a least favorable to most favorable timeline, if you will. And so let's just kind of look through, I'm going to walk through each of these in and of themselves. But on a personal basis, the individual taxpayer, you know, they've got a couple hoops that they must jump through. They've got to itemize and meet over and above a 7.5% adjusted gross income on a medical threshold. And then if there's anything over and above that, they're subject to an age-based cap. I'll get more into this in just a minute. On the business side, running these types of premiums through the business, businesses can take advantage of a tax deduction as well. The best part about that is, depending on, again, how they file, the better situation, sole proprietors, pass-through entities, all of those, they don't have to itemize. They don't have to meet that 7.5% adjusted gross income threshold, but they still are subject to those age-based caps. I'm going to give you those caps here in just a moment. The best situation is your C Corp clients. Why? They run it through the business. They may be the owner, but they're treated just as an employee. And the business, the C Corp themselves, gets to take the full amount of that LTC premium as a deduction. So they are not even subject to that age-based cap restriction. So good, better, best. Good situation, yes, they could do it. on an individual basis, but there's a number of hoops. A better situation for those business owners that run it through their business, only subject to those age-based caps. Your best situation are your C Corp clients that are out there because they get to take the full deduction for that LTC premium. So let's look at this just a little bit further. Benefits paid from that qualified LTC are considered tax-free. Obviously, we know that. Even on an indemnified basis, now we are a reimbursement company, so we never have to worry about that, but they're still going to be considered on an indemnified basis tax-free up to $390 per day. So if we look at individuals, on the individual side, as I said, they've got to, first and foremost, they've got to itemize. While we've seen the standard deduction raise to a fairly substantial level in recent years, we're not seeing a lot of individuals even itemizing their deductions. So this one becomes less and less likely on an individual basis. But if they did, they could certainly do that, but they must show those expenses over and above that 7.5% adjusted gross income. They're going to use tax form 1040 and file a Schedule A, right? So so that's their first loophole as an individual or hoop that they must jump through. Itemize, showing that above 7.5% adjusted gross income. But here are your age-based restrictions, if you will. I'm going to focus, I've got both 21 and 22 listed here. I'm only going to focus on 22. Not much of a change, but the IRS releases these tables every year, and most of the time they're adjusted for inflation. So if I focus on 2022 and look at the 40 or younger category, so that's their age-based cap, if you will. If they're 40 or younger, they could deduct $450 of that premium. But again, remember, they've got to itemize, they've got to show expenses over and above that 7.5% adjusted gross income. If they are more than 40 up to age 50, it jumps to $850. More than 50 up to age 60, the $1,690. More than 60 up to age 70, $4,510, and then more than 70, $5,640. Now, as they age, and even if they're an individual filer, they may start to realize that since these numbers get larger, they may start to take advantage of some of these tax deductions, even as an individual. Again, they still have to jump through those hoops, but it's still certainly a good possibility for them. Now, other things that I want to talk about with the individuals, eligible premiums can be paid out of an MSA, an HSA, or an HRA. So I will mention that there must be a use it or lose it scenario on those HRAs. It can't be carried over if they're going to use that to pay their premiums. Now, it's not available on an FSA or any kind of cafeteria plan, so they can't use pre-tax funds to pay for their LTC premiums. Now, I'm going to move on to those sole proprietors and other pass-through entities, if you will. The owner and / employee can deduct up to those age-based eligible premiums, right? So that age-based table that I was looking at, they are not subject to itemizing or that 7.5% adjusted gross income. Now, employees, so owner runs this through the business and covers some employees. Employees get to take that as a general business expense, or they get the business gets to deduct that as a general business expense, and that would be the total premium for the employee. But the sole proprietor can include their spouse and dependents, but they are subject to that age-based table. And here's your 1040, where you're going to be filing line 17 of this particular tax form. Moving on to partnerships, if you will. Again, the partner employee can deduct up to that age-based tables without regard to the 7.5% adjusted gross income. Employees, again, They could fund a plan for their employees. They get that total benefits free to the employee, and it would be a general business expense, so the total premium for their employees. Employees can also add their spouse and dependents, and it is not taxable to the employees. The nice thing about running it through the business as well is that it's not subject to ERISA. So anti-discrimination rules do not apply. They can discriminate by class. So if a business wants to set this up, I highly recommend that they do a corporate resolution, record their minutes, and then they can establish their classes and discriminate by those classes. Now, LLCs and PCs are they're still in this category. It really just kind of defaults on how they're set up. So if it's a one owner, it really defaults back to the sole proprietorship. Two or more goes to the partnership type scenario. Professional corporations, so your lawyers, your dentists, your CPAs, that. They're still going to be treated either as a sub S or a C Corp, again, depending on how they file. So it's pretty critical that you know of your clients that are business owners, how they file their taxes. So moving on to that C corporation, this is the best scenario out there because the corporation deducts 100%, the total premium of the LTC portion of that premium, and they're treated just like an employee. So spouses and dependents can be on these plans as well. They're not limited to that age-based eligible premium as far as the deduction because the business is taking that as a business expense. Again, can add their spouse and dependents, and again, they can discriminate. No ERISA rules apply. So once again, I'll show this. I'll end kind of where I started here. It's a good, better, best scenario. Those individuals must jump through a few hoops, but could be a situation that could be deductible for them. Your business entities, any of those pass-through entities, sole proprietors, that sort of thing, only subject to those age-based caps. And then any of your clients that are C Corp, most favorable, run it through the business. They take it as a full business tax deduction, and all those benefits are tax-free to the employer and any of those employees covered as well. Lastly, I'd like to say let's connect. I do a fair amount on LinkedIn. So if you are on LinkedIn, I'd love to connect with you. You can certainly take out your phone, scan the QR code there, or just look me up at any point. I have an internal sales partner, Johnny Mendez, that helps me with a lot of quote requests and that sort of thing. But again, remember, you've got the IME staff. They're very well versed in our solutions, very knowledgeable on all of these topics that we have covered today. But with that, Curtis, I'm going to just say, if there's any time left, do you want to open up for any questions?
Well, I think what we're going to do, because I know we're over a few, is I think I'll launch a couple of polls here real quick.
Perfect.
So let me go and launch the first one here, which is if you'd like more information on this topic. So you covered a variety of ideas with what's going on in the marketplace, to the product design, to the tax deductibility component of that, which I think a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of, or if they were, they think it's just the traditional LTC, not the asset-based. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in there. So for those of you on the call today, if you'd like to get some additional information on that, you can go ahead and check yes there. One thing that I think is really driving a lot of these sales, and you spend a decent amount of time on it, but it's no matter which way you slice it, it's paying out. I mean, you don't need the LTC benefit, you got the death benefit. If you change your mind, you can cash it out and you've got the LTC pool. But one thing that you didn't do a deep dive in, but I think is a big resource, is could you talk a little bit about, I mean, you guys have social media pieces, you've got point of sale. I mean, there's a whole repository of marketing pieces that agents have access to on the website.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Curtis. Yeah, it's what we call the OneAmerica marketing store, and actually that customized version can be created out of the OneAmerica Marketing Store, or OMS for short. So within OMS, we've got a whole host of campaigns that are available to you. It's actually free to use. We just need you to register for the particular site. And whether it's print material, and we can co-brand a lot of those pieces, whether it is email campaigns that you want to do, whether it's social media campaigns that you want to do. We've got pre-packaged memes and so forth that will go out for you on a social media basis. We use 3 areas to use those. They are Facebook business page, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And very simply, many of these don't, and it's not all OneAmerica information. We use information from the Alzheimer's Association, Life Happens. We've got holidays and so forth in these various campaigns. So this whole social media thing is a great way to get your name out there. Make sure that your clients are understanding that you offer long-term care protection for them when planning. So it's just a great way to get some basic information out there as well around long-term care planning. Beyond that, we even have metrics behind the scenes to find out who's opening the emails, who's looking at social media, that sort of thing. So you can really find out who maybe is a hot lead to contact out of that. So hopefully I did it justice there, Curtis.
Well, yeah, I think you did. I think it is something everybody needs to take a look at and see. And so that I actually just launched our final poll of the day, because you do need to be contracted to get set up. But I mean, we use that a bunch. I mean, there's just I would tell you a lot of carriers or product providers, which is fine. That's what they're supposed to be. But that's, I think, one of the things that I really like about OneAmerica is it's not just, okay, we've got a product, but and not only do we have sales concepts, but here are some different ways to market it out there and to generate prospects. And so they've really put together a very robust platform. So okay, so Brent, appreciate you taking some time with us. I know we're and everybody else for being on the call today. I know we're over a little bit here, but if you've got questions on this, reach out. You can talk to Brent, talk to the sales team over here. We'll certainly be reaching out to you as well. But I appreciate everybody taking some time with us this morning, and hope everybody has a great rest of the day and great rest of the week. Thanks.
Thank you.